The Council for National Policy, by golly, are meeting right now. And they like to pretend like they don't exist. And when you talk about the Council for National, people just kind of glaze over. I try to get Dave Hunt to deal with it, and the Council of who? What? They act like they don't know it exists. And of course, it's the Moon Front Group, started by Howard Phillips and Tim LaHaye. Eric Prince, Edgar Prince put up a lot of the funding also, along with the Amway guy, DeVos. A lot of CFRs, Masons, bad dudes, Stanley Monty, Chuck Misler, Institute of Creation research guy, Henry Morris. He's dead, but maybe his son's a member now. It's the Dominionist Christian right. And they're meeting in Salt Lake City, Utah. I wonder why. Are they trying to bring some prestige to Romney? I mean, why are they meeting there, where all the Mormons are? Kind of strange, if you ask me. But they're such an important group. The Vice President Cheney, who wants to bomb Iran, flies in. Here's the Salt Lake City Tribune. Vice President Cheney makes a quick trip to Utah to address secretive conservative policy group. This is the Salt Lake Tribune. It came out on Friday. Vice President Dick Cheney has departed Salt Lake City today after making a quick speech before a super secret conservative policy group. Super secret? I'm going to tell you what, Christians aren't super secret. There's nothing secret about me. I mean, I haven't given you all my personal home phone number, but every now and then accidentally I give it out. But you can find anything about me on the internet. You just type in Kelly McGinley. I mean, it gives you everything about me. It's quite amazing. You type in yourself, you'll see. There's a few Kelly McGinleys out there, but only one that lives in Mobile. It's just quite amazing. People have looked me up and sent it to me. It's the only reason I know. I mean, I would have never thought to look myself up. I mean, sometimes I don't want to know what they're putting out there. But the super secret conservative policy group. Since when? The Lord tells us everything they do in secret will be made known to everyone. It will be exposed. And these are dominionists, folks. These are people out, number one, remember? This is James Dobson selling AK-47s. These are dominionists that are working to take over the world through the Skull and Bones, George Bush, Sun Myung Moon, all their pals, okay? And claiming it as Christianity and the right thing to do. Vice President Dick Cheney has departed. Anyways, Air Force Two. Can you imagine he uses our tax dollars to meet with this dominionist evil group? Here Howard Phillips tends to be part of the Constitution Party, yet he's the one that started this thing, which is George Bush and Cheney to come speak at all the time. You know who else is a member of the Council for National Policy? The guy that ran for president of the Constitution, not Peruka, Chuck Baldwin, but the chairman of the Constitution Party. What was his name? I met him. He's also a member of the Council for National Policy. So you see one group's promoting, the Republicans, and the other part's promoting the Constitution Party. You see they're all connected at the hip. And in the Constitution Party, you know what it is? It's Mormons, Calvinists, and Catholics. Dominionists. And the Calvinists that they allow speaking at the Constitution Party all the time, Howard Phillips and them, his friends, are racist to the core. They're Calvinists that believe only white, blonde hair, blue eyes, Aryan race, swastika, KKK types, all speaking at the. I was there. I interviewed them. They're KKK types. It just blows you away. Just blows you away when you see all their connections. But anyways, Air Force Two, our tax dollars, the blue and white 757, took off about 2 p.m., just about 2 hours after he landed. A small group of dignitaries greeted Cheney upon his arrival, including Governor John Huntsman Jr. and his family. These are probably all Mormons. The purpose of the trip, which is privately funded, was, you mean they paid the gas on the 747 and its upkeep and everything, and the pilots and everything? Sure. The purpose of the trip was to speak to the Council for National Policy, a private group that permitted no press coverage. The 4-day event that began Thursday is being held at a downtown Salt Lake City hotel. The Council's self-described mission is to promote free enterprise system, a strong national defense, boogie bear people like Blackwater, and support for traditional Western values. The organization, made up of a few hundred powerful conservative activists, holds confidential meetings, and members are advised not to use the name of the group in communications, according to the New York Times profile of the group. Let me just tell you what's getting ready to happen. See, they've been keeping CNP secret. The media has. Now, all of a sudden, it's kind of like Blackwater's secret. Now, and then all of a sudden, Blackwater's, a household name. Well, CNP is probably getting ready to become a household name, too. Not only the Salt Lake Tribune. And up till now, there probably hadn't been, the Council for National Policy probably hadn't been in a mainline, mainstream media outlet since its inception until now. And here you have Joseph Fair. It's funny how WorldNet Daily doesn't bother to mention that he's also a member of the same group. And now all of a sudden, Joseph Fair and WorldNet Daily, they're promoting the Council for National Policy. Here it is. Christian leaders threaten to abandon republics. James Dobson and others meet in Salt Lake City to plan options in the presidential campaign. This is coming out of WorldNet Daily, who promotes Zion Oil and Gas Incorporated, which, Zion, they're all Zionists. And it goes, some of the top leaders in Christian pro-family activism, including James Dobson of Focus on the Family, met in Salt Lake City yesterday to plot a strategy if Rudy Giuliani or another supporter of legalized abortion is nominated by the Republican Party as its presidential candidate. Wonder what Howard Phillips is. He going to tell, well, y'all come on my party. Not only was there a consensus among activists to withhold support for the Republican nominee, there was even discussion in supporting the entry of a new candidate to challenge the forerunners. It's no secret that Dobson founded the largest Christian ministry in the country, and let me just add, funded by the father of Edgar Prince of Blackwater. See, Blackwater also started the CNP. In June, he said, I cannot and will not vote for Rudy Giuliani. And now he hates Fred Thompson, too. Dobson reportedly drove from his headquarters in Colorado Springs to the private meeting held between sessions of the Council for National Policy in Salt Lake City this weekend, just to weigh in with other leaders of family groups. See, they said you're not supposed to use that Council for National Policy in your reporting, and yet Joseph Fair is allowing it on his webpage, and yet he's a member of it. Other groups weighing in, of course, the Family Research Council, BOT Broadcasting, Capital Resource Institute, Salem Communications, Eagle Forum. She's a hardcore Catholic, and when she's also one of the women of the Revolutionary War. Concerned Women for America, Beverly LaHaye also receiving moon money. Well, some of those present found candidate Mitt Romney acceptable as a nominee because of his current position. I'm wondering why they even met in Salt Lake City if they weren't trying to help Mitt Romney. You think all these CNPers, these Christian conservative, are all going to go behind? And Romney is pro-abortion too. He's just changed. Perhaps the most surprising development in the meeting was the floating of an idea to recruit yet another candidate to come in, and some rich guy named Foster Friess, F-R-I-E-S-S. He's a major Republican contributor and philanthropist who lives in Jackson, Wyoming. I'm sure he funds a lot of the stuff too. And here James Dobson's against Rudy Giuliani, yet Rudy Giuliani says, I pray to Jesus for guidance. Republican presidential hopeful Rudy Giuliani says God is a very important part of his life. I believe in God. I pray to God. I pray to Jesus for guidance and help, he says. Does that make you sick, folks? This this counts for national policy, and I got a letter. I did a couple shows on this, and the old head, Steve Baldwin, used to be the head of the council. You know, he was the executive director. Steve Baldwin, he's the one that wrote me a letter. Scared me to death. I never even read it. I'm hoping it's in my CNP file, and I'll get Phyllis to pull that tomorrow and see if we can't find Steve Baldwin's letter to me 3 or 4 years ago when I was doing several shows against the CNP, and he was trying to convince me how they're a great group. And the Council for National Policy, of course, is many CFR members in it. They have over 600 members, include many of our national leaders in fields of government, business, media, religion, and professions. Supposedly, it's the Christian right of the CFR. The membership is only by invitation, and guess it was started by Howard Phillips and Tim LaHaye. The membership list is previously made public, but now it's strictly confidential. So we can only get an old one. I have a real old membership list. But now it's strictly confidential. Now, why are they being strictly confidential? If you're doing good, why do you have to do it in secret? Guests can attend only with unanimous approval of the executive committee, so you can't even bring your wife. Members are instructed not to refer to the organization by name to protect it against leaks. It's said that the secrecy it sounds like a darn Masonic group, doesn't it? It said that the secrecy is intended to insulate the council from liberal bias of the news. Oh, is that so? It was founded in 1981 by Tim LaHaye. Remember his Eternal Forces and the Left Behind series? In his latest one, you can lie, steal, kill, and destroy. Steal, kill, and work for the Antichrist and take the mark of the beast and still go to heaven. And then the video game that goes with it by Rick Warren, Eternal Forces, where you can kill everyone and still go to heaven. That's the thing Christians should do. Of course, Howard Phillips was the executive director for a long time. Early participants include Paul Weyrich, hardcore Calvinist, Phyllis Schlafly, Robert Grant, Howard Phillips, Richard Viegre, Morton Blackwell. The council employs about 8 people. Its first executive director was Woody Jenkins. Morton Blackwell served as the role, and Steve Baldwin. So supposedly Steve Baldwin might be the current one. Still, I'm not sure. And presidents have included Nelson Bunker Hunt of Dallas, Amway co-founder Richard DeVos. We know he's Mason. Pat Robertson of Virginia Beach. Who would ever want to be under anything that Pat Robertson was part of? Paul Pressler of Houston. He was a former Reagan cabinet secretary. Ed Meese and Don Hodel, as well as current president. The current president is Kenneth Cribb. That might be interesting to learn who he is. I've never heard of that name, Kenneth Cribb. The criticisms are that these are a bunch of Christian Reconstructionists with the radical theology that they need to kill everyone and bring in the kingdom of heaven because Jesus isn't going to do it. And it's part of their job to bring in the kingdom and bring in a theocratic government with all them at the helm of it. Sorcha Fall, she's a witch and crazy person that has her website is what it really means or something like that, and she's got an article out. Cheney's super secret U.S. society set plan for world apocalypse. The CNP and James Dobson and all the Reconstructionists and Cheney and them met, and they set a plan for the world apocalypse. Well, no, probably so. She might have something right because she's a witch herself. Let me read the last paragraph by this lady. This lady's crazy. And most of what she predicts on her, 99.9% of things she predicts doesn't ever come true. She does promote a lot of news sites and news sources, and then she puts it together with her weird satanic bent. Anyways, listen to this. She says, this is her last paragraph in this little article about the CNPers and Cheney and them. To the success of the American counter-coup forces does the fate of our world depend on today, while the failures of their mission to deter war will lead to the destruction of us all and the coming of the ancient gods, that's with a little G and with an S, ancient gods will be upon us once again. So Sorcha Fall does not want the coming of the ancient gods to come upon us again. Wonder what she means by that. But anyways, she's taking care of the children of winter. And those are a bunch of children with lots of powers where they can walk naked in the snow and not freeze to death. Where they've grown up. Stalin took care of them, too, and she helped take care of them. And Sorcha Fall is coming to America next week. And she's coming really close to me. And if this woman wasn't so evil, witch, and if I wasn't so scared, she's coming to the 33rd parallel really close to me. She's coming to Atlanta, Georgia. She's going up there to the Georgia Highway 77. She's going to the Georgia Guidestones. She thinks they're wonderful things. And they were put up by what's his name? Turner guy, head of the UN. What's his name? The multi-trillionaire. They put up the Georgia Guidestones, which has the 10 Commandments for the New World Order on it or whatever for environment and whatever, and it's in 10 different languages or whatever. I have that article here somewhere if I can find it. Where she's coming to town, and she's coming to the United States. She's going straight to the Georgia Guidestones. And I bet she's going to be doing some few speaking engagements. It'd be interesting to see who's behind getting her here. It's probably some, yeah. I can only imagine who it is. Many people use her work to push in the alternative media. They all go to her website. I hardly ever do. Someone emailed me this. Sorcha Fall, Cheney's super secret U.S. Society set plan for the world apocalypse. She says troubling reports are coming from the U.S. today that, according to the FSB report, state that American Vice President Dick Cheney has met with the super secret Council for National Policy, which has been confirmed by the Salt Lake City Tribune. Most disturbing about this Council for National Policy are its founding members who, according to the FSB, I'm not sure who the FSB is, policy paper on this secret organization prepared by Andrea Olov, chief of the Russian think tank PIR Center for Public Policy Studies, are some of the top American Armageddonists, to include Tim LaHaye, Hal Lindsey, Eric Prince, she's got him on here, founder of the Blackwater USA, Eric Prince. According to Russian intelligence, see, Sorcha Fall loves her Russian intelligence people, and she loves her Russian policy people, and she loves Stalin and her children of winter, and God. All right. According to Russian, and what's scary is the people in the alternative media that use any of her information and not expose that she is a witch through and through. According to Russian intelligence, I'm reading from her article here, analyst, the meeting between one of America's war leaders and the secret organization leadership is due to the increasing pressure being exerted upon their private military wing, Blackwater USA. And as we can read, all right, so here we have Blackwater being attacked. Now, what do you think Cheney probably did say to them? Y'all, we're exposing Blackwater. We're exposing all you. It's going to help bring us to Armageddon faster. Don't worry, we'll win. Who knows what he said? I'd like to have been a fly on the wall and heard what Cheney said to the super secret people. Sorcha goes on to say reports from Iraq, however, on the Council for National Policy armed wing, Blackwater USA, show that great fear by the Iraqi people towards its militant Christian army. To the exact numbers of how many of these private U.S. Christian militiamen are in Iraq, there appears to be a great confusion. But through the numbers in Iraq may be unknown, their purpose isn't, according to these reports, which state above all else, the mission of Blackwater USA is to perpetuate ongoing warfare in the Middle East toward the goal of instigating a total world war, which the Christian war leaders, and see, I might have to agree with her on this. She ain't Christian. See, she's a New Age weirdo guru. And the children of winter are going to bring in world peace. She wants her children of winter to do it, not Blackwater. And I don't know. See, both sides are just as evil. Okay. Do I want her children of winter ruling over me, or do I want the Blackwater, and James Dobson and et al.? And really, they're all together. So they're all gross, just as evil. She says, what they're doing over there, Blackwater is perpetuating ongoing warfare that can lead to a total world war with Christian war leaders in the U.S. believe will hasten the return of their main God. She has a little g, Jesus Christ. So she don't believe in any God. She believes their children of winter are gods, okay? Now, but she might, she never gets anything right, 0, like 1%. She might be getting this right. Because remember, she's on the same side as these bad guys. James Dobson Cheney, and she's working with her leader, Satan, is the same leader as their leader. And so they're all together in this. And don't think they don't know what Sorcha Fall's reporting. And the Sorcha Fall doesn't know what they're reporting. They're all working together. They're just pretending to be on different sides, and they're not really. So she's saying that they're getting ready to bring us to a total war so they can hasten the return. Of course, many in this dominionist movement don't believe the Lord Jesus Christ himself will come back. They believe it's their job to bring the army of God, to bring about Armageddon, to kill all the bad guys and all the good people take over the earth, and Jesus doesn't ever really come back. I promise you that's what they think, folks. We don't need Sorcha Fall to tell us that. Their own writing tells you that. She goes on to say, towards this goal, American war leaders have been unceasing, and as we can read, as reported by the AFP News, U.S. President Richard Cheney has considered provoking an exchange of military strikes between Iran and Israel in order to give the U.S. a pretext to attack Iran. That's in Newsweek magazine this week. Equally troubling are the reports coming from the U.S. on an unceasing effort of their war leaders to convert their military forces into the Christian army of God. Matter of fact, she exposes that a military watchdog organization has filed a lawsuit in federal court Tuesday against the Pentagon. Secretary of Defense Robert Gates, U.S. Army Major, on behalf of Army soldiers stationed in Iraq. The suit charges the Pentagon with widespread constitutional violations of allegedly trying to force the soldiers to embrace evangelical Christianity and then retaliating against him when they refuse. So horrific are these attempts been to Christianize the American military forces in Iraq, because they want this to be a Christian against Muslim end-time battle, okay? That's all it is. They've got everybody brainwashed. They've been trying to Christianize the American military forces in Iraq, that it was only when found out that the Pentagon was forced to remove from shipment to U.S. soldiers a Council for National Policy video war game. So the CNP was sending out a video called War Game, which reads, an evangelical entertainment troupe has abandoned plans to send a controversial video game in care of packages to U.S. troops in Iraq. As a member of the Pentagon's American Support You program, Dallas-based Operation Straight Up planned to include copies of the apocalyptic video game Left Behind Eternal Forces to all of our men in the military. I bet there's some playing it on the other side here, the ones that are against the war in Iraq, the militias in America. And I've been getting all of our teenagers to play them. Holy cow. Holy cow, that's Hindu. They pray to a cow, I guess. Shouldn't even say it, should I? So the CNP was trying to send out Left Behind, and who's that? LaHaye. And Rick Warren. But those packages have been scrapped, according to Pentagon's public affairs officer who spoke in background, because the Defense Department did not want to comment publicly about the decision. She says, Sorcha says, not lost on the Israeli people in these events is that the end-time scenario planned by America's war leaders results in the total destruction of Israel, and which the Israelis, have reacted strongly against, and as we can read as reported in Associated Press News. Now, you and I are being told that our government's supporting Israel, and now Sorcha's saying we're trying to destroy all of Israel. And they're trying to tell us that Iran and Ahmadinejad wants to destroy Israel, and we're going to protect Israel. Yet Sorchafal is saying we're going to destroy Israel. There's no way to ever know the truth because they're all the same team. Israelis have reacted strongly against what they read as a report by the Associated Press news story, which was Israeli rabbinic authorities have abruptly called on Jews to shun a major Christian tourism event, baffling and upsetting evangelical groups that traditionally have been supporters of the Jewish state. More than 6,000 Christians from over 90 nations are expected to arrive in Jerusalem this week to take part in the 28th annual Christian celebration, a week-long Jewish holiday of Sukkot, the Feast of Tabernacles, according to the events organizer of the International Christian Embassy in Jerusalem. There's this three-pillar park, which is 3 pillars of the Masons, and they just had some big Christian supposed group there doing some cult rituals, which I've got here somewhere. In an even more stunning move, the Israeli government showing their lack of faith in their most stalwartly ally, the U.S. The U.S. dollar continues to crash as the world reserve currency have added to ask to have their U.S. paid in euros. Supposedly, Secretary of State of Rice acknowledged a communique from Israeli Foreign Minister Tabzini Livni, which requests all foreign aid payments and loans from the U.S. may be paid in euros rather than in dollars due to the declining dollar. In the spirit of Yom Kippur, the U.S. will not hold Israel to any agreements obligating them to accept dollars as payments for their foreign aid. We will translate our obligations into euros or whatever currency best fits Israeli needs, says Secretary Rice on September 21st. To the ability of the American people being allowed to know the truth of the radical Christian cabal, it does not appear imminent as their government forces have instituted a ban on their churches from there's another coven that was exposing these dominionists too. But here you got this witch, Sorchafal, exposing this dominionist covenant. And that, and that should make, and that one way they're trying to do with the dialectic here is make people who are against witches and witchcraft like Sorchafal and what she's doing with the children of winter and whatnot, go think, oh, what the CNP and James Dobson and Blackwater are doing is wonderful. What Bush is doing is all Christian. And they join up there on their team. So Sorcha goes on to say, the ability of the American people being allowed to know the truth of the radical Christian cabal, it does not appear imminent as their government forces have instituted a ban on their churches from delivering anti-war sermons under threat of losing their tax-exempt status. Even more chilling, perhaps, are U.S. media organizations now receiving instructions from the National Security Agency on how to report the news. Now, see, that's been going on for a long time. We didn't need Sorchafal to tell us about that. She says, in a world descending towards total war, there does appear, however, a small glimmer of hope from the counter-coup forces in the U.S. And she's always been talking about the counter-coup forces, that our military was having a counter-coup force, whose main spokesman is supposedly Admiral William Fallon, commander of U.S. military forces in the Middle East, who stated to the nations of the Middle East, quote, I expect there'll be no war, and that is what we ought to be working for. We should find ways through which we can bring countries to work together for the benefit of all. It is not a good idea to be in a state of war. We ought to try and do our utmost to create different conditions. Sorcha goes on to say, to the success of the American counter-coup forces does the fate of our world depend on today. So our counter-coup forces, while the failure of their mission to deter war will lead to destruction of us all, and the coming of the ancient gods will be upon us once again. Well, if you go read about her Children of Winter from her whatdoesitmean.com or .org, what does it mean? Her Children of Winter is supposed to bring us into a new world order. They will bring us to world peace. They are ruling Russia right now, taking over. And they're going to help when this world war comes about. These children are going to step up to the plate and bring about God. No, who knows? I tell you.